excited to be talking to you today.
Me too. It's in my hair and everything.
I know you
look normal. I look normal today.
Normal? What is that, man? So Cory and I, we were talking yesterday about foundation and all the wonderful things we do, and we are like, oh my gosh, we so are not normal. We are so just living our life the way we want to, and anybody who tells us like you should be doing this or should be doing that, we're like, uh-huh, and we go and do it our way, right, Cory?
Yeah. Well, you know what's interesting too, Sophie, is that, dating is like the place, like in my, like the way I've created my reality and who I surround myself with, the weirdness and the difference that I be now is totally normal. Now, it wasn't, just a few years ago, but dating is where I really notice how different I function and how different I am and how I'm not doing normal anymore. And it's a lot of times like a disruption to the other person's universe. They're like, what? Like, you travel around the world and you don't have a boss and you get to make money and you get to make a difference in the world and you're happy and you have a pool, like in California, everybody has a pool, but like it's like all the things that I've just been like, I'll have that and I'll have that and I'll have that the Access tools have given me the space to create. I'm just like, people are just like, wow, and impressed and all this stuff. And I'm like, you can have it too, right? And they're just like, you're not normal. You're not normal at all.
Right. I mean, it's also very interesting to me how I actually, the tools that Access gave me allowed me to see everything that I was already being. So it was not so much about, okay, now I'm going to be doing this in order to create that. Mm-hmm. It was much more an acknowledgement of me and actually recognizing, oh my gosh, look at everything I've created and why wouldn't I create even more? Yeah. And so it was like a permission to go even further than, I mean, I don't know if you know about my background, but I produced really large musicals and I brought really large musicals from France to the Americas, because both Canada and the United States. And when people in France realize what I've done, they're like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. And for me, it's like, yeah, like it was fun. It was awesome. And okay, let's do more. That's just one little thing that for me it's become not normal, but a creation just like any other creation. Mm-hmm. And that's awesome. That's so much fun for me. So Cory, you have something phenomenal that you've created on Facebook, which is the Crazy Possible Experiment, because you are the queen of Facebook. Sorry, this is how I call you. To me, you are the queen of Facebook.
Here's my crown. I need a crown.
and at the same time,
we do have the queen goblet here.
Oh.
And it's blue, so it's Facebook queen goblet.
I like it. But you also do this in a way where you actually still talk to people one-on-one. You still comment on the people's post, and I find you very reachable. Like you're not out there in your little glass castle, with an entourage that responds for you. You're present with people. You're very much here and there. With that, to me, is not normal. Do you know what I mean? Like a lot of people, when they do business, when they start reaching a certain level, then they have all this barrage of support system before you can get to them. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you and I, we know two great men, Gary and Dane, who also do things like that too, where you can go and talk to them after class, even though they meet thousands of people every month. They know your name and they remember seeing you in class, and they're very present with you when you speak with them. And that to me is what is not normal, but it's my normal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Thank you for that acknowledgement. And I feel like you have that too, right? And like the presence that we get to be, where like whatever we create, we can do it our way, right? Like if I look at, you know, some other people that I know that's got the entourage and they've got the barriers and all that stuff, and like that doesn't fulfill my priority of actually connecting with people, because my business is all about contributing and connecting with people. Mm-hmm. So if I put those barriers up, that doesn't actually, that actually creates like a, almost like like I'm better than everyone else, right? Now, people might come to me for a certain thing, or like you as a facilitator, because you've got something for them, but it doesn't mean I'm better than anybody. It just means that I've got something for you. You want it, right?
Yeah, exactly. There was an energy when you were talking that I wanted to address, because the way we do things also, we don't fight anybody, right? So if you don't like what we offer, fine, go ahead. I have no interest in convincing you. And I know you're the same. And also, it's really fun for me to play with these tools, because I'm never offending anybody, because I'm never pushing anything on anybody. Yeah?
Yeah.
So this is the phenomenal thing for me in Access, is you can do and be anything you are, and use these tools. And there's absolutely nothing to believe in. There's nothing to change fundamentally about you. You can have your faith. You can have whatever works for you and use these tools. Or don't use these tools if they don't work. And we don't care.
Well, that is so cool. Let's talk about that a little bit more, because like, you know, I found Access, like I asked for Access, I should say it that way. I was asking for a magical life is what I was asking for, right? And then Access showed up, and boy, did I get that. Right? And before, like I was learned, like we'll just talk about business, right? Like well, business and life and money and relationships, like every area, I mean, since the last 10 or 15 or 20 years, it's all about self-improvement and personal growth. And there's all these books out there, and then there's mantras, and there's all these things that we could do to like improve the areas that we, you know, are aware for ourselves that aren't really working the way we wanted it to in my life. And nothing seemed to be working very well at all, except I kept waking up every day and going, shit, like, I don't want to be living this life. I would like a totally different life. And what you just said was so key, is because when I was searching for, you know, the right business model, or how to do money, or how to do a relationship, or to say all the right mantras, or, you know, to follow some plan of some sort, whether it was eating or business or whatever, like I tried to do all that stuff and it never really worked, right? Like none of it worked for me, which is why my life just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And when I did my first foundation class, and like it just sort of stripped away this layer of looking for the right formula in order to get me in my life right. And it was like something was in my world of like, I couldn't just be me. I had to figure it out. Something was obviously wrong over here, right? That I couldn't get it and all these other people could. And so something changed. And I mean, that was so long ago, and I'm like a different person 1,000 times over already, right? Because that's what happens when you use these tools. You just be more and more of the you that that's always been there, but you stopped being, or you couldn't be, or you were trained out of being, right? Like all that stuff. But as you know, the last 6 years have been moving on, and I've been expanding and really going, well, what actually works for me? Because just because, you know, 1 million people a year read this book or have changed their lives here, that doesn't necessarily mean it's my way. Mm-hmm. And the norm has become like, follow this formula, do this thing, this is the way you should do it, when none of them worked for me, right? And it was funny too, because I've done a lot of personal growth before, like 12 years before I even found Access, right? And when I I said something in a video like a year ago, and I was like, nothing really worked until I found that tools of access. Like, nothing worked to create my life my way, not normal, my way. Because normal isn't mine. And somebody says, well, you're not acknowledging everything you did up until then, which we did a personal growth thing together like years ago. And I was like, I am acknowledging that it didn't work.
Yeah.
I'm super grateful for it all. And I'm acknowledging that the stuff that works for me is the tools that give me more access to me instead of looking outside of me for all the answers.
Yeah.
Right?
It's so brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. I do want to say for me, it was a little bit different because I actually had used the other tools really well, and it had created some really cool things in my life. And I was noticing how it was just a little bump. Like every time I used something, it was an improvement, just an improvement over something. Yeah, okay, I got pregnant. Yeah, okay, I got the house. Yeah, it was just a little thing, almost like the regular path of life kind of thing, just a little bit better. And it was cool, it was great, but I'm not somebody who likes just a little bit. I like phenomenal. I like big things. I like a lot of fun. I like a lot of joy, a lot of money, a lot of love, like all of that. I just didn't want, I was like bigger. So I didn't want just a little improvement anymore. And you know what? I was actually at the point where I had great marriage, 2 kids, the dog, the house, a great job. That's where I was when I found access. But I was bored. I was like, dude, there's got to be more. And I was also, oh my gosh, you name it, I've done it. Like I did a lot of stuff before access. And I was so grateful because little bump. But I was ready for the woo, let's go there. And then I heard this woman on a Stellar Summit, and I could not understand a word of what she was saying. But I felt so damn good after an hour of listening to her. I'm like, okay, what is this? Right? And that was it. I was cooked. I was, baked, taken all. And it was also, actually, I did not choose foundation. So let's talk about this because I didn't choose foundation for a long time after I did my bars class because I was like, well, this is good. This is good.
You got your little bump.
I got my bump, my bigger bump, right? I was so used to that. Okay, so I was so used to getting a little bit more. I was so used to that. I couldn't see that I was still doing that even with access.
Yeah.
And everybody around me who had taken foundation was like, oh my gosh, this and that, and this is awesome, and this is phenomenal. They were talking about stuff, and I was like, what is all this, right? And so I just had to choose it. And it was like, okay, fine, I'll go. And I'm so glad I did. And that first foundation class that I did was with Ricky Williams. Wow. And it was 5 of us, and it was so much fun. But it was the weirdest thing I had ever done, and it was so much fun. And I'm just super grateful that it exists, right?
Yeah, totally. It's so interesting too. Like, I was introduced to access, and then 5 people had to tell me about it before I started going, oh, you guys are all talking about the same thing. I was invited to a couple of classes, and I even had a facilitator speak at one of my events because I did networking events. And I didn't even listen to her. She was speaking to like 100 people I gathered for her. And I was in the other room talking to somebody else.
Wow.
Yeah, that is like how I was relating to like what was actually showing up for me, right? Like, and it's funny because I hear a lot of people, especially like new facilitators and stuff, are like, oh, this person said no, and they're not interested. And I'm like, don't buy their story. Keep inviting them to play with you, because if they're like me, like I was asking for it, but I was in so much resistance, and not like kicking and screaming resistance, but more like kind of a stuck up, like, whatever, that's just one more thing for me, right? Like I was kind of a snooty bitch. And that was normal, right? Like that was like, I was playing this like normal, you know, in lots of areas of my life that, you know, I'm totally not normal. I'm not snooty, right? But I was being that way. Why? I don't know.
We're supposed to be, right? This is the normal way of being is, okay, yeah, don't get too excited about anything.
Yeah.
That's normal. It's normal not to get too excited. And I'm definitely not like that. I get very excited very quickly. So
well, that is the thing too that the foundation tools really gave me, and it sounds like you too, of the, you know, what you were just acknowledging, that, you know, don't get too excited, right? Because like you're aware of something, right? And then sometimes you have a point of view of what you really want, so you want to get excited about the point of view, and you're not really paying attention to the awareness of what's showing up, right? So it's like what it really gave me was the awareness of like what's actually true, like on the energy on the energy level, right? Like what am I actually aware of, and what's just my like story or my fantasy or my point of view that keeps me on a wild goose chase, because that's kind of what was happening for me. I was like chasing stuff. So I sort of stopped chasing and started actually being aware of the energy. And when I started following the lightness and noticing the heaviness and doing that whole thing of like the truth will make you feel light, lies will make you feel heavy, then it was like I would choose the light and it would go, and I would choose more light and it would go, and I was like, wow, this is way better than whatever I was doing before. I was like, this actually is freaking awesome.
it's fun too.
Yeah.
But this is okay. So let's give this to people today. Is that for me, one of the greatest thing about foundation is it's so much easier to know what is light and what is heavy, and to not let the heavy stop you, right? Mm-hmm. But to keep asking more questions toward what is actually lighter than that heavy. So because before foundation, I had all the points of views and I did not know I had the points of views. Mm-hmm. But then with foundation, with the tools and with the 4 days of clearing that foundation offers, and oh my gosh, the new foundation is phenomenal. So with all of that, it's like going for the light or knowing what's light and heavy is so much easier than trying to figure it out. So,
well, and nobody teaches us how to follow the light. They teach us how to analyze and use logic and think about it and make a list of pros and cons. And that's where I was, you know, like trying to head it. And for me, and, you know, most of us on the planet who are actually way more aware and intuitive than we think we are, then that doesn't work, because you'll negate all the lightness of the possibilities. And then especially if you were raised like, oh, if it looks too good to be true, then it is. That'll negate every light possibility that's around, because sometimes it's freaking miracles showing up and you're like, no, that's going to be too good. So then you go for the heavy thing, right?
Yeah, it's funny. I taught a bars class in Tunisia. I taught the first bars class in Tunisia. And I had a journalist write an article about the bars, and it was phenomenal because the reactions were two-folded. One was, no way, it's not possible, whatever you're talking about, that's a dream, it's fantasy. And then the other one was, I'm there. Like, there was no middle ground. It was either or yeah, okay, I'm there. And I had people show up the morning of that just saw the article the morning of and just showed up. It was awesome because it was such a new ground, like a new country. There was very little point of views about access at the time. So it was phenomenal. Like the two sides showed up, and I had no story about what was right or what was wrong. Thank you, Access. It was just like, I'll show up, I'll do my class. Whoever shows up, it will be awesome.
Well, and that right there, that's brilliant, right? Because if you, like just business training, it's all about the numbers. It's not about, I wonder who's going to show up. It's about, you want 10 people there, 50 people there, 100 people there, work, push, convince, you know, overcome objections. Like, that's what I was trained in.
Yeah.
A very pushy sale, like it was sales, but they were calling it enrollment, but it was pushy, conniving, slimy sales.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had that training, and I didn't know. I mean, I was like 24 when I got that. I mean, and I didn't know anything about anything back then. But what I knew is that it didn't work, and it was really uncomfortable. But what happened is it sort of slid in. That was normal. And everybody was doing it. Everybody was teaching it that way. There was no other, in my world, access to another way to do it. So I just decided I don't like sales. I'm not good at it, and it's not, doesn't feel good. Right. And then when I started doing the access tools, I was like, wait a second. And Dane asked me this question. He's like, well, where did you get these points of view about sales? And I was like, oh my gosh, they're not mine. Ah! And I got it from that freaking organization. It was pushy and convincing and like trying to figure out what they can say in order to get you to buy it and come and invite all your friends. And it was just like, wow, if I don't have to have that model, nice model, we're going to put that over here, then who am I? And then what I started doing was just being the invitation of like, what I'm really great at is inviting people, right? Like I used to be a party planner, and I just naturally have event planning and invitation skills. Like I just have always done that. And so I was like, wait a second, what if sales is like being the invitation? And I noticed that like, when I first realized this, not a lot of people were teaching that. And I was like, that's not normal. How do you overcome? I don't overcome a fucking objection, and I cuss, right? That's not normal. I don't overcome an objection. If you have a big enough objection that you want to say it to me and that you want to let that stop you, I'm going to let you have it. You can have that objection. When you're ready to not have that objection anymore, come talk to me. I'll still be here. But I'm not going to make you wrong. That was one of the other things with sales, is that it was like you have to make them wrong, and you have to make them like really like the scarcity of, if you don't do this now, the rest of your life is going to be shit. You're missing an opportunity. And I've heard people say that before, and I've had it said to me. And I was like, that feels terrible.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my sales in a totally different way, where people have choice, and I'm just going to be freaking irresistible. Of course you're going to want this. But you don't have to choose it, right? Choose it if it's right for you.
So I just want to tell a little story about Cory that I don't think she remembers. Uh-oh.
Oh, goodness.
It happened 2 years ago, and we were at the Conscious Life Expo in Los Angeles. And Access Consciousness had a big booth. So Cory and I were kind of floating and talking to people and inviting them to the bar sessions or more information, dance class, all of that. And this guy shows up. Cory was not there at the time. This guy shows up, and he starts talking to me, and I tell him about the classes and all of that. But he was from Denver, and at the time, I think you still lived in Denver, or you had a lot of connections in Denver. Yeah. So he's talking to me. I answer his questions, and then when you show up, I said, why don't you talk to Cory, since she's from Denver or she knows people in Denver? And he said, no, I want to talk to you, Sophie. And you, Cory, did not even have an ounce of, okay, no, I'll convince him to come to Denver and be my client. And you're like, yeah, go talk to Sophie. And you moved on. And it was phenomenal, because I had never seen that in any other business. Everywhere else, they would be like, oh, that's my lead now. I'm going to take it and convert it. And you were like, no, go talk to Sophie. And I was like, what? That's not normal. It was awesome. I just loved it. I don't
remember that at all. I don't remember that. But that's, yeah. That was really hard. I mean, not that particular experience, that whatever that was, right? But in general, that was hard for me, because my training was always, you get it, and then you like sort of work your way in, and like it's all about what I can get, right? And when I cleared all that away and cleared those points of view and really was acknowledged that it wasn't the way I truly function, then it's so much easier to be like, well, what was light in that moment? Well, obviously with the way I was being was, no, that works, go. Like, and here's one of the questions that I got in foundation class was, what's going to create the most here? Is me like fighting him and trying to like pull him over here going to create more? No, what's going to create more for him is him choosing to talk to Sophie. Cool. Yeah. Right? What's actually going to create more here? And that is so different that is not normal. That is not a normal question that people ask.
But it also makes things so much easier.
Oh, but ease isn't normal either, right, Sophie? Like,
yeah, you're right. I keep forgetting about that because that's my normal.
I know. When something gets hard now, because everything always seemed hard to me before, and then now it's like when something's hard or frustrating, or I'm getting that thing going on, I'm like, oh, what's going on there? Instead of it being normal, like ease is normal. Like the instant actualization of stuff, ask and receive. I ask, and I know you do like a brilliant job of this too. Like you ask, and then the universe rearranges itself for you. Where I didn't know that before. Like that was one of the biggest gifts, is because I thought I had to be right. I thought I had to have all the points of view right. I thought I had to do it all right, and I thought everybody had all the answers. So you want to talk about total change in foundation class is like, I don't have to have all the answers, and guess what? I can actually be wrong. Woohoo! Freedom.
No, it's awesome.
I can actually just be me and know what I know. I mean, how does it get better than that, right? And I can actually have ease. Ease is normal for me, is my normal now.
I know, I like this club. I like the club of ease. I really like it.
So Sophie, what's your favorite tool in the foundation class? What's your, if you were to pick one, I know it's hard.
Yeah, it is hard, but probably if I choose this, what will it create? Because to me, choice is phenomenal. And I don't think anybody in any other class that I've ever taken teaches choice the way Access does it. To me, choice is how I live my life, is because in foundation, we learned that a choice is only valid for 10 seconds. So I'll choose something and I'll be like, oh, well, that's not working. Cool. I get to choose something different now. Or, yay, I love it. Hey, I get to keep choosing it until it doesn't work. And wow. Like this weekend, I've been having my kids all of July because it's vacation. So instead of co-parenting with their dad as you usually do, I've had them. So this weekend, I kind of had it enough with the kids, but I went for the joy. And like a lot of times when my kids were fighting them back, like stop it, that was not working. So I would go and tickle or hug or make jokes, because to me, what I was choosing was joy, was fun. And it changed energy all the time. And it kept me on my toes too, because I had to do it quite often. Yeah. So that to me, choose. And if I choose this, what will it create? Man, it changes my life every day. What about you?
Yeah, that one was really good for me because I didn't know I was aware. I thought, only psychic had awareness, and I had really separated, myself. But once I started, when I got to foundation, it was like, oh my gosh, what if I'm actually aware too? What if I'm actually, more intuitive and aware and psychic than I ever thought? And when I started actually paying attention to even asking that question, if I choose this, what will it create? I was noticing that before I even would ask the question, I was aware of an energy, and there was like a heaviness and a lightness. And before, I was like attracted to the heaviness because I wanted to find out. Like I'd want to find out what was all that about. And the more I would ask the question, the more I would practice choosing, right? So I still chose a lot of heavy stuff, but I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually choosing because I am enjoying the drama and the trauma of the heavy choice. Because every time I choose heavy, it creates crap or hardness or dis-ease or some drama and trauma thing, right? And so I was like, wait a second, well, if that's creating that crap in my life, then what if I actually choose the lightness? What will that create? And nobody that I knew valued ease, valued skipping the drama, valued just being able to timeline hop or jump tracks to a whole different reality, right? And that's what I started noticing when I was choosing the lightness. So what will this create? And then just practicing that was oh my God, changes everything.
Yes.
And you can't get that anywhere else. You can't. And the cool thing about the 4 days in the foundation and having, you know, all these tools that you get plus 4 days of clearing plus being in the space for 4 days is that you come out energetically totally different. Like you've let go of tons and tons of lifetimes of stuff. So you come out into like, almost like you're born again. Like, you're like, okay, now what? Right?
Born again conscious.
Right. And I remember there was a, God, right after my, like the last day of foundation for me, my body felt so different. I felt like I was finally in my body for the first time ever. I was tingling all over. Like I could feel everything, like in my whole, like everything. And I was like this doe-eyed, different. People were different. I was different. I had more joy. And I was just like, what? I don't care what just happened, but I'll have more of this. And that's what I noticed with every class that I do. And, you know, I took a bunch of foundations and now I've facilitated, I don't know, like 35 or 40 of them. Every time it just takes off one more layer and one more layer and one more layer that sometimes I didn't even know was there, right? Like, do you have that happen, Sophie, where you're like, I didn't even know I was there, but
oh my God, you get it, and you get it when you get it, if you get it. I mean, it's like, oh, he's been doing this for 5 years and I'm getting this now? Okay, cool, awesome.
Well, that's how I think that like people, we're normal is to, here's what you do, right? And you get the tools and then you master the tools. And then once you hear it one time, like, who does it belong to, right? You hear, who does it belong to? And you're like, oh yeah, I got that. But like, I didn't really get it until a couple years in, and somebody said something and I was like, that's not even mine? Of like everything that I thought I was, I'm like, that's not even mine? Oh my God. Like,
well, the way that I actually got it was, I was hanging out with this guy and I kept getting really horny. And I was like, I'm not even attracted to this guy. Why am I so wanting him? And I was telling a friend of mine about this, and my friend said, okay, so are you horny, or are you aware that his body's horny for you? And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Like, it just blew my mind. And I'm like, oh my gosh, every time my body was hungry or tired or, you know, feeling hurt, it might not have been mine. And that was awesome.
yeah, well, you don't have to do anything with the stuff that's not yours. Like that was probably one of the biggest things for me in foundation of, you know, I'd heard the tool, but during class, I mean, I've gotten who does it belong to, like in chunks, right? And when I first got it, I was like, I think I've spent about $20,000 to $40,000 on classes and hours of books and drama and trauma in my world, like trying to fix issues that weren't even mine.
I know, and you can't change it, right? When it's not yours.
I tried, and I was not successful in changing other people's issues. And once I realized that, I could actually look at, you know, what do I want to have for my life instead of fixing all the issues that weren't even mine anyway. And you know what, Sophie, like somebody in my network back then said to me, you know, because I started, you know, promoting the bar, you know, being a bars facilitator and having sessions with people. And she goes, and she was really into like the emotional stuff, and emotions are important. And in foundation, you actually see, you know, what's actually beyond emotions, right? Like we get so stuck by emotions and like, oh, I'm feeling so sad. Well, are you going to let that run your life, or what are you actually aware of, right? And you kind of get to see what that is. And she says to me, she's like, I don't know about this access stuff because it's not acknowledging the significance and the power of emotions. And I was like, in that moment, I was like, that is so heavy. Like I just acknowledged the heaviness. And she was kind of taking a little bit of a jab at me at the same time. But I was like, wow, that's heavy. And for me, I was like, she is interested in buying a heavy point of view. Okay, hopefully that's working for her. If it's not, it's not. I don't care. But I didn't take it personally.
No.
Which was brilliant. Like I would have been like trying to defend it and like do all this stuff. And I think, I can't remember what I said back to her, but it was super simple. Like, well, I'm just not interested in actually trying to fix everybody else's stuff that's not mine. And I think I walked away. And I didn't feel the need to fix her, change her point of view, try to get her to like me, try to get her to like what I was doing. Like, and that was different for me, because normally I would go in and try to fix it. And I was just like, you can have your point of view, and it has nothing to do with me. Talk about freedom. Talk about being different. That was not normal. That's like, it wasn't normal.
That's awesome. I totally agree with you. That's awesome. All right, so now you got me really excited, because I know we both have foundation classes coming up, and I'm so turned on by the possibilities that we're going to create in those classes, man. I'm
Totally
excited.
Totally.
What is your class?
Yeah. Oh, so I've got a couple classes. I've got one in Melbourne, Australia in September 7th through the 11th, bars and foundation. And then Salt Lake City is October 12th through the 16th, I think, or the date. We'll just put them on this video wherever it is. And then I'll just give my website too. It's meetcorymichelle.com, or you can go to the Access website. And I was going to acknowledge something about you real quick before you announce your classes. Because Sophie is so brilliant at like being in the space and just like having the allowance for whatever is showing up and going like, well, that's interesting. Or do you want to let it go, right? Like, so, and I think that's what's one of the things that's so brilliant with this sort of facilitation, and what you bring to the table, Sophie, is that it's really just like, is that working for you or not? Would you like to hold on to that, or would you like to create something different here? And really like the invitation of that. So I just wanted to acknowledge for that. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. And I love, actually, I've had so many different kind of people showing up in my classes. And I wanted to tell you, Salt Lake City has, I did 2 foundation in Salt Lake City, and both times I lost my voice. So I had to, the first time I just did the best I could. People were reading the manual and I was answering questions. But the second time I got a karaoke machine and I was speaking in the microphone because I had no voice. And so I just want to tell you, make sure you drink a lot of water when you get to Salt Lake City, for sure. Honey and water.
It's dry. Yes.
It's dry. It just took me by surprise twice. But what was interesting, the first time I went there, okay, so Salt Lake City is what, a Mormon state? Huh? Yeah. Well, a week after I did my first foundation there, they agreed to have gay people marry. And so my host was like, no, you didn't change anything in Salt Lake City, Sophie. And I was like, yes. It's awesome.
That's what's so cool about all the stuff that you get in foundation is like all the foundational tools for creating change everywhere in your life, and with governments, and with, we look at all the things that are going on in the world. It's like, what if just asking questions and being in that space of like, hey, we're aware of a different possibility. What would it take for that to show up and beyond? Right? Like, you get those tools to start working with, and it's freaking magic. So when are your classes, Sophie?
Well, the next one is actually starts Friday, July 30th. No, Saturday, July 30th. Until August 2nd in Irvine, California. But for me, any class you want to take with me, you go to createwithsophie.com, because it takes you to the Access website where all my classes get listed. So that's the fun part. And I know Cory and I, we're going to be playing on a radio show in a couple of days. So I hope you come and join us there. And my gosh, how much more fun are we going to have? Woo! Baby!
Yeah. And how much more fun can like all of you guys watching, like, we want to invite you. Well, I'll invite, because you might not want to invite.
Yes, we will invite you.
To like if you're watching this and you're like got some sort of energy, you're like kind of leaning in a little bit, like, just ask, like, what would your life be like if you chose foundation? Or if you've already done it, if you chose it again with one of us, right? Like, that just lit my whole body up.
It's so much fun. First, it changes so much all the time. And then I could never have gotten the foundation in one take.
No.
It too much information. I needed to take it. I can't count how many times I took it, but I needed to take it several times for the being okay with not being normal be my new reality.
Yes, that. Right, like the first foundation literally just takes a layer off, and then you go back into your life and you start using the tools, and you're different, right? And you never go back. These are the classes that you never go back, right?
Oh.
And you go back into life, and then you go, oh, and then you find more stuff, and then you let go, and you create stuff, and then you do another class, and you're like, okay, here's the next, like, jumping tracks to the next thing, and it just makes everything go so much faster and so much easier.
Yeah. I create so much while I'm in class, while I'm fascinating, or while I'm taking an access class. My business creates so much in like the 2-4 days, more than in 2 months where I'm not doing classes. It's phenomenal, always phenomenal. So don't do it unless you want a lot more business.
Yeah, well, and I just want to invite you to, like, if you're watching this and you have a question, or you're wondering if it's for you, or you're like, I don't believe what you guys are saying.
I understand that.
All our Facebook feeds is actually real. Like, this is like actually like our normal now, which is totally not normal. Go figure. I was faked it too. I thought that, you didn't really, nobody was really happy. You had to just fake it, but I'm actually happy, like 99% of the time. So how does it get better? Contact us, ping us on Facebook, email us on our websites, ask a question. And both of us, I think, are very open to, I'll talk to anybody. If you're interested in a class, or if you've got a question, or you're wondering if it's for you, I will totally have a conversation with you. And I think Sophie will too.
Same here. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Cory, thank you so much for joining me in this conversation. And
yeah, thank you. I wonder what is possible now. I wonder how much more not normal we can be, Sophie.
Oh my gosh, uncontrollable.
All right, bye guys.